guys, to the Yanagida Podcast show. Today we have Luke
Hi.
Armistead, the American Psycho.
Mhm.
Ooh, how did you get your nickname, Luke?
So I used to go by Lionheart, and I thought that was like a cool nickname. But it's used. It's like Anthony Smith has it, and after a while, I was kind of like, it seems kind of generic. I'm not sure I want it. But I was just talking to our boxing coach John, just like on Instagram, and I sent him it's like a GIF of Patrick Bateman going, ooh, yeah, that one,
Yeah.
and then he said, "That's you. You're the American Psycho." And I thought, oh, that's
you got your
perfect.
nickname.
Yeah.
How long did you have the Lionheart nickname?
I don't know, like I want to say a year total. Like I got here, and it was before my first MMA fight, of course. But yeah, like a couple months before my first MMA fight, but then John brought it up.
Gave it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I love that nickname.
Yeah.
I think it's perfect.
Do you like Anthony Smith as a fighter? Do you watch him?
I mean, I've seen his fights. I mean, he's okay, I guess. I actually don't like his personality. He kind of grates me.
Did you see his last fight when he talked to Johnny Walker? Was it Johnny Walker where he's like, "You attacking my..."
Yeah,
or was it somebody else?
Yeah, I know he fought Khalil Roundtree last, but
that was a tough fight.
That
guy's good.
Yeah, he's pretty good. He's a good Muay Thai fighter, but yeah, I saw. Yeah, he's an odd guy, and I don't know what's going on up here. Fighters go through so much. He's been like in 50 fights or something crazy, But hey, I mean, respect. Every time he, I think he's like down and out. He seems to come back a bit, so good for him. But I just think he is annoying.
Yes. And speaking of Muay Thai, for the people that don't know, Luke had a Muay Thai MTAC, Muay Thai event.
Yes.
Was it MTAC? In December.
Yes.
November.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
Yeah. It's my first ever amateur Muay Thai fight. It's weird. I've done 2 MMA fights before my Muay Thai fight when I started in Muay Thai, and especially coming from my last MMA fight where I lost, by brutal knockout. Like going into that, even like my preparation, like I wasn't good with how I was preparing with like my food and my sleep. I was super nervous and stuff. But I kept telling like my coach, Brian Crespin at Horizon Muay Thai, I'm like, well, I want to get this bad taste out of my mouth, and I want to, get a win or at least a good performance. I wasn't sure, like just to go a bit of a deviation, but just to go kind of into like how I felt after my loss, like. Before I lost, I was riding super high, because I had just beaten that guy by knockout, and I'm like, oh yeah, I wasn't even hurt. Like it was less than a minute. I wasn't even tired, and I could beat anyone. Put me in there, I could beat anyone. I was like thinking of people I wanted to call out for my next MMA fight, and then, obviously I took that fight on short notice or whatever, and there were some like complications to getting there, and it didn't go well for me. I felt like I had checked out because I was just so exhausted, tired from. But then, so this Muay Thai fight happens, and flew out, weighed in, good time, and I went against a guy who admittedly was like really tough. Like I hit him with just because I was so nervous, like I was just on him constantly, constantly throwing. And it's like, I don't even care about getting tired. I just want I just want to make a statement. And I ended up second round. I slowed down a slight bit, but I did end up catching him with that front kick to the face, and it took him off his feet. And I'm like, okay, that's over. Like I got him. But then he gets up, like literally as they're counting to like 8, he just stands up like nothing even hurt. Like he's not even bothered. And I'm just thinking, whoa, like, I thought that was over, but okay, let's keep going. And caught him with a step back knee to his liver as he was going for a spinning back fist, and he crumpled. So I think I was actually really satisfied with that performance. I'm really usually critical, of course. I mean, I think
we are our own like hardest self-critique.
Right. And so, but after seeing that, like even my coach Brian, like he's like, that was great, and it's like that was great.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah,
that guy was tough. He was game. He was, and even John, the boxing coach, he's like, yeah, like I liked how you just stuck with it. A lot of people would get discouraged after the guy got up after that 8 counts, but you just kept going and blah, blah, blah. And so, that was great. And now it's like things are starting to come together. After that boost in confidence, it's like suddenly I'm not afraid to be hit anymore. Like I'm seeing things much better, and I'm better with my hands and my feet, and it feels so good.
That's me too. I'm still trying to figure out that thing with like dealing with getting hit and fighting. And you just got your blue belt as well.
I did.
Yeah. And you're coming up. You're getting all these wins, and then for those people that don't know, Luke has an MMA fight coming up.
Yeah.
February 24th at the Valley Fight Series 14. So check it out. But you also did Naga's tournament.
I did,
last year. Talk about that.
Yeah. I'd never done any grappling tournament at all, and I've been, since 2019, I had been like on and off practicing jujitsu until I started coming here to Yanagida's, and then it just kind of ramped up from there. And just that also taught me like a lot of things, because you could probably attest, like when we roll, like where it's technical and it's flowy, but it's like we could go on for half an hour and not really slow down
and not even get tired.
And so I went into this thinking like, oh yeah, I've got such good cardio, like 4-minute rounds or whatever, 4 or 5 minute rounds, like I can just go as hard as I want, and I'll be fine. But the first takedown I did, just to clarify, I've competed in the 180 to 189 division in Nagas, and also the open weight, which was a tournament, 60-man tournament. And
I remember seeing that.
Yeah. And that first match I did in the 180 to 189, I didn't warm up. They just kind of called me up, and I didn't. Something happened. I don't remember what it was, but like the scheduling was off, so like I didn't have time to warm up, but I'm thinking like, oh, no problem, I'm gonna crush this guy, and I go for the first takedown, and he had a really strong sprawl, and I was like holding on to it, and then I remember thinking like, I'm tired. Like I feel like I'm made of lead. Like I'm having a hard time breathing. Like I've literally never felt that before. It was so gnarly. And obviously looking back at it now, it's like, oh yeah, of course, like like grappling like that when you're going 100%, like it's totally different. And I just hadn't really experienced that, and he got my back and choked me out, but again, like that was a good little learning experience. And but it's funny because after that fight, or after that roll, I was so tired that I was actually like thinking of going to Justin and going like, I can't compete. Like I'm so exhausted. I literally can't. I have to drop out. That's what I was thinking. But then, the second match happened with Kalikiano, and I just said, oh, screw it. Let's just go. Let's just do it. And it's funny because after that first match, it's like I warmed up. And then it's like suddenly I'm like sharp now, and I'm feeling stronger and faster. And as the tournament went on, it almost did feel like I was getting stronger as it went on. It's like I got more warmed up or more used to it, and then I'm trying to think. So first match in the open weight 60-man tournament, first guy didn't show up, so I won by default, so whatever, that's a win. And then second match, I went against a guy who I think he competed in the weight class above, like 190 to 199. And I got the Ezekiel choke on him, which, and I was surprised.
Is that the one from Full Mount?
Yeah, well, I just got on Mount and I got that Ezekiel choke, and I'm like, I've never tried this before, but but he seems like he's struggling. I think I could go for it. And I kind of put it on, and then I heard him go, and then I'm like, okay, it's almost done. It's almost done. Yep. And then he taps. And I'm like, oh, whoa. Like I submitted him. That was pretty gnarly. And Yeah, that was a great match. And then my next match, I went against a guy from Romania, of all places.
Oh,
and yeah, and he got me in a guillotine, which is my yeah. I hate guillotines so much, but he got me in one, and I had to tap. But, and I didn't even realize, but that was actually like a semifinal. That was a semifinal match, and so after that, I went into losers brackets, and I would have competed in third, but I didn't even realize that. You know, I just kind of went back up. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm done for the day, and then I hear like Luke Armistead to mat 9, and I'm like, what? For what? And then
I remember that.
And then I go there. I'm like, what's going on? And then they're like, oh, you're next. And I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't have my mouth guard. I don't even know if I tied my hair. And
I think you didn't have anybody in your corner either. Like I remember seeing you compete. I was like, oh shoot, no one is on Luke's corner, so I ran. I don't know if you saw me like coming, like running towards you. I'm pretty sure you weren't. You were focused on grappling.
It was a blur.
And then all of a sudden, I was just like, hey Luke, like sprawl. Oh, take his leg, single leg. And I was like, dude. So that was the match that you wasn't expecting, because you placed,
Yeah, I got
very
third.
first, very first tournament.
Yeah. That match, that was interesting because I went for the takedown and he had a really strong sprawl. But as opposed to my first match, I'm like, I can hold this and I can keep transitioning, try to go for a single leg and then like pull in that leg. But then when he like sprawls that out, then I go for the double leg and then just kind of go back and forth until eventually I did like stand up and like ran through and I got the takedown. And that ended up winning the match, you know.
And then, did you submit that, or you won by points?
Won by points. Yeah. And I just that single takedown was enough to win the match, and I got bronze, which I'm like, oh, I got
first
third.
Tournament.
That's kind of
yeah.
So
that's crazy. Like even when like you're so long.
Right.
Like when I would sprawl on top of you, I would feel kind of safe, but at the same time, you're so long that your arms are kind of like still long enough to pull me in, and then you would finish the takedown. And I would be like, dang, it's like even trying to hold you down is hard. Like like last week on the wall drills.
Yeah, the wall.
I would have body lock and a complete leg lace on you, like the Khabib thing.
Yeah.
And all you would do is like push my head and then shrimp out and then just escape right away. And your clinch game is like.
That Muay Thai clinch is nuts, man. Like, I think that's one thing MMA is missing so much, you know, because when I see guys clinch against the fence or whatever, it's mostly like a positional thing, like get the wrestling, eventually get the takedown.
Underhooks.
Yeah. But even if you just throw like little tiny side knees, like that'll distract them. Those hurt, you know, especially if you hit with like the side of your knee, like you're supposed to. Like, that's no fun getting hit in like the liver or something, or the rib, you know. And even if they are like experienced grapplers and they're tough or whatever, like it's gonna, you know, it's like getting punched in the face while you're on bottom trying to go for a submission. Like it'll put a shock to their system, and when that happens, then you can just reverse it. And then the proper knees start coming. And those are always fun.
And that like drains your cardio because you're getting hit to the body.
Yeah, those body shots.
Yeah, and your cardio.
Yeah, you know.
Man. Talk about swimming, because you used to swim.
I did.
Before you were a fighter.
Yeah.
You were a swimmer, right?
I was. I did competitive club swimming. Yeah. And I never, it's funny, I did it for 10 years. I was like from 6 years to 16 years. That's when I did it. But I never liked it. You know, it was almost like another class to me. You know, it's like, oh, after school I go do this. You know, I never liked it. You know, I never really meshed with the crowd. I used to be super, super like introverted, and I had such a hard time even like looking people in the eye. And I just didn't like doing it really. But I did it because, you know, my parents thought I should do it, I guess. And I did well, you know, like my event was the 200-meter butterfly. So like the Michael Phelps one, you know, and I was good at it. I placed 5th in state one year at a certain point, and that's mostly just because no one wanted to do the 200 flies, so there are few people to compete with, you know. But still, you know,
but that's still a big deal.
Yeah, I guess
to
so.
Place in state.
Yeah. I placed in state, and that was a good time. But like I said, I never really liked it. You know, I'd come up with excuses to not go. You know, I'd be like, oh, there's too much homework. You know, I can't go to practice today. And I feel bad looking back at it because it's like I didn't realize this at the time. My parents paid a lot of money. It's like it was a club thing, so it's like it's not like it was free. But here I was just going like, oh, I don't want to go, and yeah. But I'm glad I did it because it definitely like I think it changes like your lung composition a bit. Like it feels like I do have a third lung sometimes, and it's I feel so good. And it's funny going back to swimming, like hopping in a pool and trying a few laps. It's like I get exhausted. I'm like, whoa, that's tough,
Yeah, because your cardio, I think your cardio is one of your biggest attributes, as well as your Muay Thai game.
Right.
And Jiu-Jitsu. Like you're meshing everything together like so smooth. It's like every time I think of like moving around with you, it's like, okay, like it's not gonna be hard, but it's like, it's gonna be a technical battle. And I knowing Lou's cardio is like, okay, he's willing to push the pace.
Sure. Yeah.
And like training and Muay Thai, like what is, I know with the fight coming up, you got any other goals and plans for the rest of the year for 2024? Not looking past February, but also, because I know you're very goal oriented and you want to go for stuff.
Yeah. I mean, fingers crossed I win this fight and I do it in an entertaining and impressive fashion, and that's a belt. That's the championship belt for the amateurs. Yeah, which I mean, it's kind of weird to think, but it's championship belt, and with that there will be a target on my back, but I kind of like that because then it's like I don't have to seek people out. They'll come to me, and for this year I just want to be active, like with whatever combat sport, whether it be like jiu-jitsu or Muay Thai or MMA or even boxing, I'll take anything, I want to stay active because I think that's one thing, especially like when I do a lot of how do I put it? I do a lot of case studies of the UFC and certain fighters and stuff. And one thing I notice, it seems like the moment the fighters start to become like main event fighters or co-main event fighters, they start not being active. They'll start fighting once or twice a year when before they fought 3 or 4 times a year. And it's a sport. So, the past is the past. Once it's over, and then it's on to the next event. And if you aren't constantly putting yourself in the news, and if you aren't constantly getting headlines and saying like, I'm going to fight this guy, I'm calling this guy out, and this getting attention on yourself, then you're missing out, And at the end of the day, MMA is an entertainment industry, and you get paid by putting butts in seats. You don't get paid by being a good fighter necessarily. You know what I mean? And I think that's something a lot of guys, even in the UFC, even at the highest level, which I would think they'd have like managers or coaches who would like understand, but it's like, no, I'm thinking Cyril Gane. He's like huge in France. He's a main event fighter. He's fought for the title, won an interim belt. He could have fought Aspinall before Aspinall fought Sergey. He could have fought, but he was like, no, I don't want to fight anyone below me in the rankings. I'm just going to wait for my title shot. But he had already lost like 2 of his last 2 fights, and it's like, he's not getting a title shot just cause, and then all of a sudden Aspinall becomes champ, and then he's like, I challenge you, Aspinall. It's like, where was that? You're not a fighter, you're like I don't even know what that is. You're not an entertainer, but you're also not a fighter.
He's trying to pick his shots.
It's like, what have you done? How do you sell pay-per-views? No, you don't. Like you look at the numbers of the Francis and Cyril Gane pay-per-view, it was like 200,000, which that should have been like the biggest heavyweight fight in all of UFC history. Like former training partners, and they were both champions, one interim, one undisputed. Francis is, he's a spectacle for sure. Cyril Gane, I mean, he's so light on his feet and he looks the part as well. Both of them did. And it sold like crap. It's because they never did any interview. Like, I think Cyril Gane, I literally counted, he did 1 interview the whole build up of the fight. And then Francis was just mostly talking about, doing boxing instead. He wasn't even really focused on the fight. And I think that's just such a shame because like, sure, you might get some people to tune into your fight because you're an exciting fighter, but again, like I said, it's an entertainment business, and you need to attract people to be entertained, and that means putting yourself out there in interviews, in press conferences, on social media, possibly. And a lot of guys don't do that, and so I'm thinking like, okay, that's going to be my niche. I'm going to not just be exciting. I'm going to be an exciting fighter. I want every part of me to be must-see TV. From my walkouts. Walkouts are so boring. I don't even know why we have them. It's like people just like, it's on, and it's like, they're just walking like all stoic. It's like you've seen it a million times. Like, it's like, oh, the person's like, okay, turn around and high five your team.
They'll put the Vaseline.
They'll put on the Vaseline, and then you hop in the cage, and maybe you do like a little raise your. It's boring. Like, I want to come out. I'm dancing. I'm interacting with the crowd. Like,
that was your walkout. Everybody was enjoying your dancing and stuff. I remember your first MMA fight. We still have the video of you dancing in the cage.
And that was while he was coming out.
And that's with his music.
With his music. That's the thing.
That was amazing.
You gotta own it. You gotta make. You are like, at that time. You are like. You won the Oscars, so to speak. You're at the Oscars, and you're being seen by everyone. And how do you present yourself? Most guys just like look down, and which it's fine because I know it's a fight. There's a lot of nerves, but if anything, you kind of interacting with the crowd and all that, it's a bit of a distraction. Because it is such a mental battle, and if you're just stuck in your own head, as opposed to like focusing on your surroundings. Like, I know some people probably have different opinions, but I feel like for me, that's great because, I'm dancing to his music as opposed to just sitting there like waiting for it to happen, like worrying like, oh, what could happen? Like, no, I'm dancing, I'm vibing. And then it's almost like a warm up, then it's like you face him, and it's like you doing that, you expressing your confidence and stuff like that. That's like a muscle in itself. I find it is so much easier to like stare someone down if I've been doing that stuff prior. You know what I mean? Because there is a psychological aspect to it, and if you're just like kind of sitting there and like avoiding eye contact, maybe that's something you could lose out on as far as an advantage in the fight. And so I'm thinking like, I'm dancing, I'm like smiling, I'm like like looking across it, like I'm not afraid of you, like I'm got this friendly demeanor, but it's obviously, once the bell rings, that changes.
It flips. And that's one of the things I give you a lot of like props for, because outside of like training, you're like really down to earth, really nice person, and like when it comes to training and time to fight, you're like completely different.
Right.
And I think that's when your American Psycho instinct comes in, and you become that completely different person. And also your attitude towards like fighting and training. You always try to make it fun. Just like how you said you would dance before fights, and try to interact with the crowd, because not only you win the fight, you win the crowd.
Exactly.
And, it's even better.
Even though I lost my last MMA fight, people were coming up to me saying like, "Oh, we loved your vibe. We love that," and that's great. Obviously at the time I was like, "Don't talk to me." I didn't. I put on a smile, and I was like shaking hands and taking pictures or whatever, but. Obviously, mentally, that was the worst thing ever.
But they want to see you again.
They do. And even the promoter was like, like we appreciate all you've done, coming in short notice and making it entertaining and that sort of thing. Like, that's great. That's what I want. I want promoters to pay attention to me. I want people to pay attention to me. I want people to come take pictures with the crazy Howley boy, the American Psycho,
And that's what people forget, that not only MMA is a combat sport, but it's also a business.
100%.
And you having that mindset of like trying to make yourself more marketable. Because me and Jess always talk about this. We always try to find ways of making us marketable. And like you competing in like Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, MMA, imagine you compete Jiu-Jitsu and become like big in Jiu-Jitsu and Muay Thai. It makes you more marketable in MMA.
Totally. 100%.
So like even guys like Gilbert Burns, world champion. Who else is like world champion?
Damian Maia.
Dude, you got like these collegiate wrestlers coming to MMA. Man, crazy.
Totally. And And the nice thing about being marketable like that is that the promotion will pay attention to you and they'll try and build you up.
Yeah.
They love the idea of like a homegrown star, or like obviously we're in Hawaii, it might not be homegrown, but it's like, this is our guy, he's fought for us. And then like ideally with like this Valley Fight Series thing, they're like, oh yeah, you can fight here a few times as an amateur and then go to pro and we'll pay you like as a fighter. And they're going to take care of you at that point, because it's like, oh, you're bringing in eyes, you're exciting, and you're skilled, you've got this resume. It's like, we want to build you up, we want, and even if you do like go on to bigger things later, like the people will look at the promotion Valley Fight Series and be like, oh, like the American Psycho came out of that place.
He came from that promotion.
He came from that place. I want to fight for them. And
that's a good.
Yeah. So it benefits everyone. And not just me. Not obviously, like down the line, it'll probably help with pay, but that's not my primary thing, because I know the money will come with like sponsorships or whatever.
That's
but
a good attitude.
and I'm excited just thinking about it.
And if you guys want to tune in for Luke's fight, it is on pay-per-view. ValleyFightSeries.com. You can go check it out.
Number 14. Valley Fight Series 14.
14. Yes. Yeah, because being marketable. I think I was talking to Justin, and just having just being from Hawaii. Kind of makes us marketable.
It does,
as fighters.
Especially Maui. It's like you're not even from Oahu.
Yes,
you're from
usually
Maui.
Oahu. Yeah. Usually everybody's from Oahu. And for us to represent Maui, like it helps us. It helps the gym. It helps everybody from Maui. All the people that probably want to fight someday, they can look up to you.
Yeah.
As you go up. And like, what is like maybe some advice you give to somebody starting out training, and want to fight? What would you tell them?
Well, at first, don't have too much of a plan. Like, just kind of go into it. Like, especially if you just start, like, let's say you're really young and you have this idea, you want to be like in the UFC, you want to be a fighter, you want to do MMA. Great. I'd say find a gym, find a coach that you really like, and stick with him. And I hear so many stories, like Chael Sonnen talks a lot about this. He used to be part of something called Team Quest, which doesn't exist anymore. But it used to be him, Randy Couture, and Dan Henderson. Yeah, it was just like the three of them.
Wow.
And eventually it became a big gym, a bunch of other people, like from like the first Ultimate Fighter, like Chris Levin came in, and I think Stephan Bonner might have been part of it as well. I could be wrong about that. But what ended up happening, Chael said, is that a lot of guys would be approached by other gyms. And these gyms would be like, hey, like, we'll give you, special treatment. We'll give you like special amenities, and we have like the best coaches and the best training partners. If you leave your gym and come with us, then we're going to take you as far as you can go. But a lot of times guys do that and then they fall short. Chael Sonnen, he obviously didn't win a championship, but Dan Henderson did, and at least in Pride, and Strikeforce 2, and also Randy Couture. I mean, notoriously like amazing fighter. And I think loyalty is like so important, because you need to kind of bond with the people you're around, and you need to bond with that coach. And if you are just kind of like a wayfaring person who just doesn't want to stick, who wants to, like, I look at like Johnny Walker, for example. He started in Brazil, then he went to another gym. Now he's like an SBG in Ireland, and it's like he's never going to reach the top, because he doesn't look at his mistakes and look internally. I feel it's like, oh, it's the gym, that's the reason I'm failing. It's like, no, it's not. And you can make it anywhere. I truly believe. Just surround yourself with the right people. Just really take a good, almost clinical look at yourself and be like, okay, here are my weaknesses, here are my strengths, here's what I need to work on, and work on your coaches with that. So many guys think like, oh, I got to go to American Top Team, I got to go to Extreme Couture in Vegas. A lot of Hawaiians too, they leave Oahu, they leave and go to like like I said, like American Top Team or Extreme Couture. And I'm thinking like, I mean, if that works out for you, great. But at the same time, like, one, you're leaving your home, which I feel is always tough. I mean, I left my home, but that was out of my own volition. And at the same time, like, are you really getting that much better because of that? Like, because you go to a nicer facility with more people? Like, I could understand if it's like, oh, I like the coach more, or oh, there's more training partners that mesh with me well, maybe more my size, you know, for example. I've been lucky because, you know, even though I'm tall, like there are guys who are tall, like you, or like at the boxing gym, or even at my Muay Thai gym, like there's guys who are around my size. So that's perfect. That's what I need. Yeah. And but yeah, if you're just like but anyway, back to your original question. Sorry. Yeah, like
no worries.
Yeah, just find a gym you like, find a coach you like that you mesh with, that will be critical of you, that will tell you the harsh truth, and someone you can trust to throw in the towel when you are losing a fight. That's a big thing for me.
That's big too.
If the coach knows you well enough to know, okay, he can't win this fight, I don't want him to take any extra damage, throw in the towel. Like, there needs to be that trust there. You know, they need to watch out for each other and not just have it as a business thing. That's the gym. But as far as like lifestyle, I mean, I feel like a lot of that stuff people already know. You know, it's like, eat properly. If you don't know how to eat properly, go on the internet. You know, there's so much, there's so many resources. It's free, you know, on YouTube. There's so many free resources. And, you know, just if you really want to like count calories or like take a log of all the things you eat and how it affects you, great. I don't think you have to go that far, but there's always something more you can do. But at the same time, don't let that overwhelm you. You know, it's like, have fun with it is also my other like big piece of advice. Like, if you're not having fun, like one thing that happens a lot, it's happened to me, it's happened to every fighter, I feel. It's like they'll really enjoy it at first, and then a few months will go by, and then they'll start to plateau. And then they'll kind of lose interest in it. They'll stop showing up to practice as often, and they aren't really passionate about it anymore. When that happens, I tell people to either take 2 weeks off, because then you'll realize, and if you take that 2 weeks off and you realize, oh, I'm bored, I want to go back into the gym, it's so refreshing to come back, you know? And at the same time, you know, dive into different sports. You know, I'm lucky because I've got a boxing gym, a jiu-jitsu gym, and a Muay Thai gym. Like, I'm never bored. Like, there's always something new to learn.
To do.
And I mean, and the nice thing about MMA, especially if you're like really into it, and if you watch the fights and you pay attention to the sport, is that when you go to a gym, everyone's like that. Everyone's paying attention to the sport. Everyone's got a favorite fighter. Everyone's got like dreams and ideals. Like, it's like an automatic friendship pass. You know, it's like I could go to a gym like in Singapore and just be like, man, you see the one championship card that's coming up, and then they'll be like, it's crazy, and it's like we're friends already. You know, it's like we've known we had that shared experience, and so bottom line, for a new fighter, find a gym and a coach that you like, that you're willing to stay, that you are going to be loyal to each other. If you do plateau, or if you do get bored or just kind of sick of it, don't be afraid to take a 2-week break and try other disciplines too, if whatever interests you, and have fun with it. That's at the end of the day. Those are my 3 pieces of advice.
I like that. And loyalty, you know, that's one of the biggest things. Making it fun, and having a coach that knows you, understands you, because that's very crucial too, especially when it comes to training. You know, sometimes us as competitors and fighters, we're kind of tough for our own good. You know what I mean? Like you're very mentally tough, and having a coach that knows when to, you know, throw in the towel or tell you, hey, take a rest day.
Totally.
You know, because sometimes we risk overtraining.
It happens every single training camp. You know, I feel like every single guy overtrains in training camp.
And in terms of recovery, you know, what are some of the things that you do to take care of yourself? You know, whether it's ice baths, hot tub, rolling out, stretching.
I mean, I'm pretty basic actually. Like, I say just eat good food that you cook yourself and sleep. So many guys miss out on sleep, like 8, 9 hours. Like 9 hours is ideal.
Yeah.
But so many guys kind of miss out on that, whether it's because of work or because of they're just staying up looking at their phone. Like I'd say like that's so important. Like it's a night and day difference between getting up at 6 hours versus 8 or 9 hours. Like you'll realize, fewer things bother me. Yes. I'm actually excited to go train today, and like I love ice baths. I mean, I kind of suck at them. They're hard. Yeah. They hurt my feet, which I can't stand for some reason. But yeah, ice baths are great. I mean, cold showers I think is probably just fine.
I like those as well.
Yeah, like a lot of people like joke about like people who take cold showers. It's like, oh yeah, I love cold showers, and then what it is they're basically like, just. But that's kind of the fun part. Yeah, it is like the shock to your system, and then you come out feeling so much better. Yeah, and cold showers are great, but yeah, just eat good food. Like, I'm again like. Figure out what feels good in your system. Like don't eat fast food, obviously. I mean, you can, if you want to have fun. So don't be like so disciplined that you're like, don't let yourself do anything. But just oops, sorry.
No, you're good. Like a good 80-20 rule. Like, like 80% of the time you want to be eating good.
Yeah.
I like to follow that. Like a good, like here and there I'll have like some ice cream or like a cookie.
Yeah.
But
I might have a burger today.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Some donuts too. Shout out to
Maui Ono Donuts. Shout out to Will Milano. I love you, man.
Yeah. And talk about you have like a carnivore diet, yeah? Did you say you used to eat carnivore?
Well, I wouldn't call it that. Like, because in the carnivore diet or even like the animal-based diet, which it's like transitioned to, like I eat onions, I'll eat bread, I'll eat beans or lentils or whatever, like carnivore animal-based diet. Like they're very much like fruits and meats and liver and bone broth and like nothing else. And it's like, I don't do that. For me, one thing that I eat every single day, and I can kind of change it up enough where it's like still kind of varied, is I take an onion, like a big yellow onion. All this stuff is ideally like organic, grass-fed, that type of stuff. But like, I just dice up an onion, throw it in a pan with some butter, olive oil, or whatever, or duck fat. I've been using rendered duck fat, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And then just let those cook a bit, throw in a pound of ground beef, just kind of mix that up. And if I'm feeling a little frisky, I'll throw in some cheese. And then it's like a nice cheesy, like, I wouldn't say greasy, but it is greasy, like food. And that goes great with like bread or whatever. And then for dessert, I mean, I don't even like processed sugared all that much. So I really like apple bananas. That's like,
those are actually good too.
Those are so good. Yeah. I will literally eat 5 pounds of apple bananas in one sitting, especially if I have like a jar of peanut butter.
And, just bananas like, with peanut butter.
Yeah.
That's me with apples.
Yeah.
I love apples with peanut butter.
That's elite stuff. Yeah. And that's basically most of what I eat. I'm an Orthodox Christian, so so tradition is that we eat a pescatarian diet on Wednesday and Friday for a fast, and so that's nice because it adds a bit of variety to my life. So it's like I get to have some sashimi, or something like that, like get some rice and some shoyu, and I mix that up, and then add some like I'll get some either salmon or marlin. Like there's some sashimi quality marlin I get, which I just eat raw because it's actually really good. And
that sounds good.
Yeah, I know. And it's just just to answer your question, I don't really do animal based or carnivore, but I do eat a lot of meats because I love meats. It makes me feel good, and I love the calorie density. Yeah, I do feel myself get stronger. Yeah, for sure.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's all I really wanted to say. I eat a lot of fruit too. Yeah.
For that, for your religion, you do that every Wednesday and Friday.
Yeah. Or at least try to. It's funny because a lot of people kind of get the impression that we're like fasting for God or for his sake, but it's we're doing it for our sake. God doesn't need us to fast, but it's like it's just something that we do to like help ourselves and just switch things up a bit. And there's a bit of a religious aspect there, of course.
That's good. And one of the things I got from you in terms of diet was I remember you told me about eating eggshells.
Yeah.
And I noticed once I'm very repetitive. I would eat 3 eggs every morning with like some chicken sausages that I get from Costco.
Yummy.
But ever since you told me about that, I would like crack 3 of the eggs and I would crunch up like 1 of the eggshells and just put it in.
Yeah.
And I noticed I haven't got sick in a while.
Yeah.
Because you said it has a bunch of calcium, right?
It's got all your daily amount of calcium you need. Yeah.
And I realized that I haven't got sick for a long time. Even like maybe I was sick for like a couple of days.
Sure.
I think during Christmas. But I came back pretty quick after.
Yeah. I was sick during Christmas too, like a lot of people were. But you bounce back pretty quickly if you just rest and all those nutrients are there. Like eggs are so healthy for you. Like egg yolks have so many things that are just. It's like a cheat code, you know.
I think there's something about saying eggs is like one of the best foods out there.
It's like a superfood or something. Yeah,
superfood.
Totally.
That's the word.
100%. Especially if you eat the eggshell too. Like that's so great for your bones and
like, I didn't know that till you brought that up to me. Once you brought that up to me, I was like, oh, I need to Google this. Is Luke telling me like this is for real? I was like, and it said it. It was like, yeah, it's good for you. I was like, how come I haven't been doing this for a long time?
Right.
So I've been doing that ever since you told me. So thank you.
Hey,
thank you for that.
Good on you.
So fighting sickness with fitness, just like with nutrition.
Right.
Before we close,
yes.
You see this like pretty much everywhere.
Oh yeah.
What does fighting sickness with fitness mean to you?
I mean, for me, it's pretty self-explanatory. Like it is a fight, and you're using fitness to fight off the sickness. Like it is a battle. Like it. Every time you go to the gym or you come work out in MMA or jiu-jitsu or whatever, like you are basicking keeping those diseases at bay, because it's no coincidence that people who sit at home all day just absorbing that recycled air and just kind of sitting down like for so long is not good for you. Your body gets weak and the immune system isn't really functioning at its full capacity. But if you do this, then if you put yourself in those intense situations, your body is going to function at its optimum capacity. And that's the idea. That's the idea for me. Fight sickness. Like it's a fight. It's a battle. It's a war. And then I think it's a great saying.
Yes, because it takes effort to fight for your fitness. Whether it's mentally or physically, because mentally is also another battle.
Totally. Yeah.
And I believe like when it comes to combat sports, anything, eating, dieting, training, lifting, everything's mental.
Yes.
And so before we close, is there anything you'd like to share or, shout out to certain people before, you head up to Fresno?
Yeah. Let's see. Shout out to crew Brian Crespin. He's been with me since I got here on the island. Like the month I moved here, I started training there, and he's been with me ever since. He's been a great coach. Same with John One, boxing coach. He's such a cool guy. Love you, John. Of course, everyone at Yanagida's and Paraestra. Gotta love that. And let's see. Shout out to again Will Milano, my boss. He's made living life on Maui so much easier. He's given me a way to sustain myself, and I don't mean just the donuts I get to eat.
Because you always bring donuts.
I always bring donuts. Yeah,
and I have this big smile every time you bring donuts. So, your socials. Give out your socials in case people want to check you out on social media.
Yeah. I'm only on Instagram really. I've got a Facebook technically. Maybe you could find me, but my Instagram handle is at Luke A. That's LUKEA _sets_fire. Came up with it in college. I don't know why.
What is the meaning behind that?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
It was just in college, and I'm like, ooh, this sounds catchy.
Oh, okay.
Maybe I'll change it. Maybe I won't.
American Psycho.
Maybe. Hey, there you go.
Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for listening. Please follow us and check out Luke. And his journey, his MMA journey, his Jiu-Jitsu journey, Muay Thai journey, and his upcoming fight in February. The date is February 24th. You can check it out on valuefightseries.com for DFS 14.
14, yes. 14. And I'll be bringing back that amateur middleweight belt because it is a title fight.
Yes. Thank you guys for watching.
Take care.